I think we're starting to see an evolution of identity management as it's traditionally been viewed, I think, as an IT function, and it's also been viewed as the people that are doing the plumbing. But it's evolving, and I think people have now gained an appreciation that identity management relates to numerous business impacts, which we're going to discuss today. The bottom line is that identity management is not a security or an IT problem, but a business problem that needs to be business driven. Also, there's a great need to simplify processes that have organically grown over the years. In that growth, we've also seen a number of bad practices, such as model me after, accumulated rights, backdoor accesses. Many of these bad practices have been highlighted in regulatory requirements and audits that focus on identity management. Specifically, the regulations have focused in areas such as segregation of duties or minimum necessary rules or privileged access, which is a vector that's regularly exploited by external parties and insiders. So with the need to fix these issues and the realization that IT alone can't fix the problem, we've seen a much greater understanding, involvement, and ownership by the business to the point where we now have business-driven identity management. So education of both business people and IT are moving into the direction where there's a greater understanding and movement to have the business really drive the maturity of the identity management program and the decisions.
We're not unlike any other business out there, and Craig, you would refer to it as kind of plumbing behind the scenes. There was really an IT-driven process for us. You know, IT would generate an access report, and someone would reconcile this information to an employee list or a termination report, really doing the basics. And the information was often generated in an IT-friendly format, which really read more like a table or column heading for a database. You know, whereas like imp ID reads, you know, has this access, and that access may be a little bit cryptic, and you know, it's a yes or a no. It's really kind of decoding what the information is, and that was the challenge with it being an IT-driven process.
It's an interesting journey that we've taken in Direct Energy, especially with the finance folks getting on board. So one of the key points that we defined very early on in the process was the expectation that our colleagues in finance had of our IT folks to define the segregation of duty matrices and then put those appropriate controls in place. We've had many discussions explaining this, and I think they finally understand now the complexity involved in creating these segregation of duty matrices for our financial folks. That has been, I would say, one of the pivotal moments in our entire program.
Most of the projects I have done are actually fairly complete in nature, and a lot of time we'll set up the entire IAM infrastructure, I mean access management, identity management, and then the access governance, all of it together. A lot of time the other thing we do too is, since we have the benefit of laying down a brand new infrastructure, we're trying to figure out what is the most efficient way to use a new infrastructure. So sometimes you have constraint because it's already in place, but sometimes you're replacing or it's a brand new implementation that you're doing. You have the luxury of figuring out what do you want the HR to feed to and get a little more creative from an efficiency perspective. The other thing I would say around that we see emerging is we're starting to see SIEM, DLP, and more of that information being shared with the identity and access management platform. That's really increasing.